Hey there, booze buddies. Welcome to another episode of Paranormal Spirits, where we share a drink, we tell you a spooky story, and then we rip it apart because booze always shows the truth. So today, Caitlin, I have an old story for you. The Green Children of Woolpit.
Woolpit? Do you think it requires like extra strength deodorant?
Or it's just really itchy?
Doesn't sound very breathable in Woolpit.
No.
Green kids?
It took place supposedly sometime during the 1135 to 1180 something, somewhere within there. The English chronicler, English historian, let's just go with that, or storyteller, what should we say? Historian?
Yeah.
Okay. The old-timey English historian.
That's the one.
Ralph of Coggeshall.
No.
Coggeshall, yes.
Yeah.
Who died around 1228 AD, was a Cistercian monk, was a Cistercian monk at a monastery. Oh my God.
This is hard. One word at a time.
Monastery, right?
Monastery.
Now, none of them sound right.
It sounds like monostat to me, though, so now I'm thinking about yeast infection medicine, so keep going.
Okay, I got this.
Go.
He was a Cistercian monk at Coggeshall, which was about 26 or so miles south of Woolpit. The legend goes that a boy and a girl were found by what is referred to as some reapers. That sounds horrifying. I believe they were old-timey people in the fields at harvest time.
Yes.
They were near some ditches that were dug to trap wolves, which sounds like a whole another story going on there. But we're just gonna skip over that part. Wolf trapping.
What?
So these reapers found this brother and sister, and they had a weird green tinge to their skin. Their clothes were made from unfamiliar fabric, and the reapers didn't know what language they were speaking, and the children didn't know any language of any of the nearby vicinities. They were unfamiliar with all the languages.
So they spoke their own language, or
they spoke a language that the villagers weren't familiar with, so They don't know when it was. So it wasn't recorded what language speaking because they didn't know what it was.
Right, because it was 1100, so they literally could have been speaking any other language.
The children were taken to the village, and Sir Richard Decane at Wilkes. Why do British people have to have their, where they live as part of their name?
I mean, I always introduce myself as, yo, Caitlin from Everett, kid. You never did that.
I am Lady Caitlin of Everett.
Yeah.
So Sir Richard Decane, he supposedly took the children in, and they wouldn't eat any of the food that anybody brought them. The villagers were bringing them food, because these children, they seemed like they were starving, but they refused to eat any food. And eventually, they harvested a round of beans, right? And so they brought these children green beans, and they gobbled them down. It was the only thing they would eat, so they survived on green beans for a month. Green tinge to the skin, maybe. I know carrots and sweet potatoes can give you an orange tinge, right? Green beans, I don't know if there's the same effect, but
right.
So the boy became sick, and unfortunately he passed away due to whatever his illness was. It doesn't say. But the girl survived, and eventually she lost this green tinge to her skin. And she learned how to speak the language, and she even married a local man. And according to some accounts, she took the name Agnes Barre, Barre. And the man she married became the ambassador of King Henry II. None of these details have been verified because this is a long time ago, right? It was 1100s. Paperwork might be sketchy. After she got married, learned to speak, she sort of relayed the story of where she came from to the people. She explained that she and her brother were looking after their father's flock of something, doesn't say.
Sheep, probably, maybe sheep. Yeah,
maybe sheep. I don't know.
What else could there be? A flock of seagulls? Seagulls. It was seagulls. Yeah,
it was a flock of seagulls for sure.
Seagulls. Yeah. Okay.
I don't know. Could be goats, right? Are they a flock?
Goats? Is it a flock?
I don't know. We're gonna go with seagulls. I like that. there are a couple different variations of the story, but according to this one, they were tending to their father's flock and they found this cave. And upon entering the cave, they wandered in through the darkness and they came out on the other side, entered into this bright sunlight where they startled the reapers. And so they sort of came from one place, went into the cave, and came out another place. Now, another version of the story says that she claims that they actually lived underground in the caves, and they talk about a river and they could see an illuminated place, and it was always like a twilight where they lived, which is why they had this green tinge to their skin, because they were never out in the sunlight. But that's kind of the end of the story, but everybody just went with it. I don't know. But there is the story of these green children, and it was just all very weird. They had no idea where these kids came from.
Do we think they just came from somewhere that's like just outside of the reach that like the people in that area had been to prior? Or like how far had we explored at that time?
Trade routes in the 1100s, right? So I think they would have explored pretty far. Now I don't know like how many people in a village would actually have traveled that far, but it would have been a long ways for the kids to walk, to not know any of the local language.
And then I'm also thinking that maybe they were just like dirty, but like everyone's kind of like dirty, right? Like in that time period, like we're not bathing regularly, so maybe you're just like got a little yuck on you. Get a little film, like maybe they were like in the woods for a really long time, just like
the caves. The moss was growing on their skin, giving it a green hue,
like a little swampy dip. They had a little dip in the swamp, and they had that like swamp food, right? Like maybe that happened. I think it's interesting that they teleported through a cave. And not one other person has ever done that before, like has done it since, right? Like, so that's an interesting thing. Like, where is this cave?
So there is one theory about the color of their skin. There's something called hypochromic anemia, originally known as chlorosis, which is caused by a poor diet, which will cause a green tint to the skin. And so that would maybe explain why her tint went away after a while, when she started eating normally,
right.
She started to adapt a better diet. And maybe that could also explain why her brother passed away, if they had a poor diet and were malnourished. So that's one theory as to why they may have had green skin. But like the thing that's weird to me is the language, right? Because like how far did these kids have to walk to not know any of the language at all?
Well, where did they live prior? Like she never said, like if they were living in a cave, like they could very well have like, it's like people that have developed their own language, right? Like, so where were their parents? Did she ever talk about her family or her people or whatever, right? So if it's just her and her brother trying to fend for themselves and nobody's there to like teach them, they're gonna make up their...
No, they did have their family, like, because they were tending to their father's flock.
Oh yeah, I forgot about their father's flock of seagulls.
So they did have a family. They just somehow wandered through this cave, whether they lived there and came out of it, or like kind of it's almost like the cave was a portal, according to the story.
Do you think it's a different universe? Or do you think
I don't know. Some people theorize that maybe they were extraterrestrial beings.
They hear the green and they say aliens. But like a different dimension, not a different universe, a different dimension where the language is different.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Imagine being one of those reapers, though. You're just like reaping. You're out there. You're reaping. It's your day. You're like, oh, it's a Monday. Another Monday. Reaping away over here. Reaping. What the fuck is that? There are two. Who's it? What the fuck? We got two string bean looking humans over here. Coming over. Ironically, all they eat is string beans. But goddamn, why so green, kid? And the kid's like, because they can't speak the language.
Right.
And like, what? That's a fucking weird ass Monday, right there.
It is.
And then that guy goes home that day, and he's like, "You are not gonna believe what happened at work today. Pull up a seat, Sarah. I got a story to tell you." And then Sarah...
Oh, you kidding? This was the 1100s. Sarah already knew. It was a village. That stuff spread like wildfire because they had nothing else to do. So, all the women of the village came out to see these children. And somebody eventually took them in. That guy, Sir Richard, Robert, or whatever, of somewhere and something. But, like, which is weird. Like, why did this guy take them in? It doesn't say if he was married or not, which, like,
Pervert,
right?
Pervert.
Right.
Come on, kitties, I will take you.
Ooh. He was the Muffin Man.
Oh, shit. He's a time traveler. Yeah, he lured the kids in with green beans on a string. That's why they call him string beans. That's the origin. Holy balls. That was the biggest lightning that's ever happened outside my house right now. It was like a crazy streak.
This is the origin story of a string bean.
It's a weird one, though, right? Like, 2 green kids.
If they stayed green, I would be more likely to, like, think that it was something, like, super cool. But the fact that she, like, didn't stay green.
One could argue that if it was due to either diet or environment, right? So let's just go with the alternate dimension theory. Like, she came through. Now she, over time, is adapting to this environment with our food. Maybe her skin changed. Or maybe she just had a better diet.
Do we think that everybody in that dimension is green?
Yes.
It's just a bunch of, like, really olive-skinned motherfuckers running around. It's just Greeks.
Oh, so you went like olive. I was thinking like a green, like a clover.
Like a clover. I went like a clover. There are these 2 kids coming out of the woods, and they looked like 2 clovers. Would you believe it? I couldn't believe it. 2 random clover kids just walking right out of the woods. I'm over here reaping. I'm just reaping away. And
Clover kids.
this is hilarious.
Henceforth they shall be known as the Clover children.
The Clover kids. This is a southern story now. Clover kids and Woolpit. Here, to make your day. One of them died, though, so he's not going to stick around. But the other, she's normal now. That's not a good story. It's funny.
It's really not great. So they never went back to their families. They never, I guess, found the way back. Well, he died, so of course he didn't go back.
I know. Maybe his death brought him back. He went back. He, like, transported back. Post-death.
Back to that dimension.
Yeah.
So he could then be a ghost in Victorian clothing in his dimension.
Everyone, once you die, you just get handed your Victorian garb. And they're like, here you go. And you're like, God damn it. And you have those collars with, like,
corset and a bustle.
yeah, you're like, this sucks. And, like, the weird, like, butt bump. Like, what is that thing? Why do we need that? Well, that's the crappy story of the green children of Clover Pit. Sure. The green children of Wolf Pit. Woolpit. This is hard. If you like what you saw, take those green bean fingers and use them to like, subscribe, and ring that bell. If you don't like what you saw, take a walk through that cave and go into a different dimension where your sense of humor is accepted. Thank you for watching us. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time for wow, this is hard. We'll see you next time for more drunken adventures with 2 old, definitely not green whores. Get out. Goodbye. See you later.
See ya.